She held no sword, she wore no official crest, no title announced her arrival. Yet, the fate of thousands, the flow of rice and coin, rested entirely on her decisions. This is a story inspired by the true hidden histories of Edo-period Japan. When we picture this era, we often imagine a world of rigid order. The shogun's law was absolute. Society was a strict pyramid, and everyone knew their place. Men were the public face of power: the samurai, the merchants, the officials. Women, especially those of the merchant and farmer classes, were expected to be shadows in their own homes, managing the household but never the business. Their lives were meant to be unseen, their voices unheard in the world of commerce and politics. But history is rarely as neat as the official records suggest. Beneath the surface of this male-dominated world, a different reality was unfolding, driven by women of incredible strength and intelligence. And one of these women, a figure who represents so many others like her, was named Ogino Jinko. She wasn't born into a samurai clan or a wealthy dynasty. Jinko came from a simple farming family, but from a young age it was clear she was different. She possessed a sharp, restless mind, a curiosity that couldn't be contained by the rice paddies. She watched everything, learned quickly, and saw patterns others missed. As was the custom, she was married young into a prosperous merchant family. It was considered a good match. Her husband's business was a sprawling enterprise dealing in rice, the lifeblood of the nation, providing loans and managing massive warehouses. He was often away, traveling to distant provinces, leaving the day-to-day operations to his staff. And then, disaster struck. Her husband, the public head of the family, suddenly fell ill. His health declined rapidly, and soon after, he died. In a moment, the world shifted. The entire weight of the massive business, with all its complexities and obligations, landed squarely on Jinko's shoulders. The vultures began to circle almost immediately. Creditors, sensing weakness, arrived at her door demanding immediate repayment. Anxious suppliers wanted to know if their contracts would be honored. Local officials, skeptical and watchful, questioned whether a woman could possibly manage such an operation. The unspoken belief was clear: the business was doomed. A woman was not supposed to lead. The rules of society said it was impossible. But Ogino Jinko did not panic. She did not weep in public or shrink from the challenge. Instead, she did what she had always done. She listened, she observed, she gathered the ledgers, the thick books filled with columns of numbers and names. Day and night, she immersed herself in them, learning every transaction, every debt owed, every promise made. She traced the flow of money, the movement of goods, the intricate web of relationships her husband had built. When she finally began to act, it wasn't with loud declarations or bold commands. Her approach was quiet, deliberate, and precise. She began by addressing the smallest debts first, paying off the minor lenders and tradespeople. It was a simple but brilliant move. It cost little, but it sent a powerful message through the community. The house of Ogino keeps its word. Trust began to trickle back. With the more powerful creditors and merchants, she didn't confront them. She never openly challenged their authority or status as men. Instead, she invited them for quiet conversations. Over tea, she would lay out the books, not to argue, but to show them the reality of the situation. Her knowledge was so thorough, her grasp of the numbers so absolute, that it left no room for doubt. She wasn't asking for favors, she was presenting a logical path forward. She renegotiated terms, not with pleas, but with calm, undeniable reason. She never showed fear, only competence. Within a single year, the business that was supposed to collapse had stabilized. The whispers of failure turned into murmurs of respect. Within 5 years, it wasn't just stable, it was expanding. Ginkgo, working from the shadows, had not only saved her family's legacy but made it stronger than ever. Her reputation grew in a way that defied convention. Other merchants, men who had once dismissed her, began to seek out her judgment on business matters. They would consult her discreetly, asking for her opinion on a risky venture or a complex deal. Even local samurai, who officially looked down on the merchant class, came to trust her numbers. They knew that if Ginkgo vouched for a financial arrangement, it was sound. Officially, she remained invisible. On paper, the business was likely run by a male relative or a senior clerk. She held no formal position. She attended no public meetings. To the outside world, she was just the widow, confined to her home. But in reality, she was the true center of power. She controlled the flow of money, goods, and credit throughout her entire district. She was the unseen engine that made the local economy run. But perhaps her greatest legacy was not just in business. Ginkgo began to quietly train other women in her circle, the daughters and wives of other merchants. She did teach them to rebel against the system or to demand equal rights in a way that would get them punished. That would have been foolish and dangerous. Instead, she taught them something far more practical: how to understand the systems that governed their world. She taught them accounting, logistics, and negotiation. She passed on the lesson she had learned through fire. Power, she would tell them, is not loud. It is consistent. It is knowing more than anyone else in the room. Ogino Ginkgo lived a long and prosperous life. Her name is not carved into monuments. Her story isn't told in epic poems or battle scrolls. But the city she lived in, the community she was a part of, thrived because she understood exactly how it worked, from the inside out. Her life reminds us that in Edo, Japan, and in so many other times and places in history, some of the most effective and powerful leaders were the ones who were never meant to be seen, and in a world that tried to render them invisible, that invisibility became their greatest strength. It allowed them to operate, to influence, and to build, right under the noses of those who thought they held all the power. And that is exactly why they succeeded. Thanks for watching. If you found this story of hidden history as fascinating as I do, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel for more stories that you won't find in the official textbooks. See you next time.